Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. And it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not even be next week, next year, or in my next lifetime. But you know what? We're all meant to be where we're meant to be, and we're all meant to move forward in a way that's comfortable for us, but more important than comfortable for us, beneficial for us. Not only beneficial for us, but in a way that we can enjoy this world that we live in, right? By the same time, in the same token, not contributing to the crazy town, right? Hi, if you've never met me before, I'm Cindy and I explore the inside and the outside. And on the norm, I do this on Instagram. And in celebration of having my first show here of What's My Good Cheer on YouTube, I am using my pivot cup. Today is my first day of showing up live, showing up for myself, showing up for those who might understand, might get something out of some of the lessons that I have received, that I received, and that I will receive as we move forward. I have some amazing crews. I have been on these platforms since 2014. And I do have a live show here on YouTube. It's called Chatters Live, and I have an amazing crew that shows up for me every single Sunday. This is home for me. My relationship with Google is solid, and it's something I hope that will serve me throughout my entire life. And oh my goodness, here is one of my guys. This is Andrew. Thank you, dear. Didn't expect to see you here today. And today is not a day for tears in any way. It's just that I thought that I was going to come in and I was going to do my live today and I was going to be by myself. This is one of my loves. This is one of my joys. This is a friend of mine who has been with me on my platforms since 2014. We are comrades in this adventure that I'm on, and I take along anybody who wants to join me. Now, I didn't mean for this to happen, but let me go grab a Kleenex because this is not my intent. But also to keep in mind, as an empath, as somebody who's highly sensitive, sometimes we don't prefer, and I'm going to use that word prefer, to make moves without a little bit of a boot in the butt, right? We are those characters that do need to be motivated. My motivation, it comes from the evidence and the experience of the lessons that I take in my everyday, day to day, in my conversations, in showing up here on my platforms. And even though this is my first time going live with my show, What's My Good Cheer, it's a solid show that I've had on Instagram now for years. And again, I'm going to lift up my cup because you'll get used to this because I'm going to be showing up here every single day on YouTube. And a little bit of ideas as to what I share here on YouTube. Again, like I said, it's a lot of those lessons. A lot of it is accountability to myself and accountability to people like my friend Andrew here, who just touched my heart in a way that I never expected. But being the man that Andrew is, right? And him having that opportunity to spend some time with me over these past few years. And I've gained his, well, trust, his friendship. And I know it's a friendship, right? Me and Andrew, connect in the real world as much as we connect here online. And it didn't start that way. He started as somebody who just enjoyed watching my urban explore videos. Yes, I was an urban explorer. I explored abandoned farms, abandoned houses, going back to the days of the Hudson Bay, right? From the Northwest Company, from the Voyageur, from the fur traders. And if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm Canadian. I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and grateful for this amazing province that I stumbled onto, and not through my own accord, but in following one of my mentors, my greatest loves, my father, who in 1980 picked up his entire family. Not the first time he's done this, right? And you'll get to hear some of these stories, and you'll get to hear some of these amazing characters and dynamic characters in my life, right? Because being an empath, being a highly sensitive, these are creations, aren't they? They are creations. And sometimes those creations happen to somebody who I do believe was meant for something more, because I do believe about him myself. It's why I started this journey. It's why I pursued the lessons, why I pursued some of these conversations and some of these amazing relationships, that even though we are different, and I'm going to let you know now, for a lot of my followers and subscribers, if I were to look at them, and let's use Andrew as an example, because I know Andrew well enough to know that he wouldn't mind that I did that, that over the years, you know, I've gotten to know Andrew, I've gotten to know the real Andrew, because we all have personas that we bring to our everyday day to days. And it's unfortunate sometimes, because when we bring these disguises and when we bring these personas to our everyday day to days, people that we encounter, situations that we encounter, we're going to be talking about pivoting today, um, don't get to see the true um, personalities, don't get to see the true hearts. Go, don't bring to the truth. And that's the thing when we're on social media, whether as a participant or as a spectator, we have to be very careful. And for empaths on the norm, we are very careful, but at the same time, because we want to be seen, because we want to be heard, because we want to belong, because we want people to like us, we can find ourselves in some pretty messy situations. We can find ourselves under very easily underneath other people's thumbs, being dictated to. And again, because we have these understandings that, unless we're doing for others, right? We really, as a community, in learning to find your own community, right? But doing the baby steps by consistently introducing change into our lives. And we know, right? There's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of scary in change, isn't it? And so, quite often, we'll find ourselves feeling safe, feeling comfortable, laying on the couch with the remote control, or worse yet, not pursuing our dreams, not pursuing those things that we know we were meant for something more, right? I woke up this morning, oh my goodness, right? In a little bit of a rush, but last night, well, over the past couple of days, I had made some choices because I knew I was going to be coming live today, that I was going to be bringing for the first time my live show, What's My Good Cheer? It's an Instagram live show that I've had on Instagram for years, but I've been using Instagram as a place to practice my craft, because we all have to start somewheres, don't we? And for the most part, like a small child, like a newborn, we don't have anywheres to start, right? We don't know. We are underneath the guidance of, right, our guardians, and whether that's your parents, right, and some of us, right, not lucky enough, right, not graced because of the lessons that are meant to come into our lives. And I do believe where we're at now is always where we're supposed to be. And that might be a little bit discouraging, because if you're anything like me, you may have woken up and taken a look around at your life, at your living conditions. Here's the big one: at the people that you've been surrounding yourself with, the people that you felt that you were supposed to be taking care of, the people who were supposed to be taking care of you, right? In all ends, it might have been just a bit of toleration because you brought a little bit of something to somebody's lives. And usually, as empaths and as highly sensitives, we do enjoy that time alone, right? And not only do we enjoy that time alone, grateful, Andrew, that you're here, right? You're going to get a little bit of taste today of some of the content that I bring to my Instagram channel, because this is pure. This is golden, right? If I could take that off of Harry Styles, who is also somebody that is in movement forward, in a journey, in a story, in a struggle, in a frustration, in a joy, but also on a path. Because as we take the lessons in, we become that evidence for ourselves, don't we? We can take on a little bit more. We understand a little bit better. We can let go of some of those things that we clung to for dear life in some cases, right? Because for me, it was from clinging into some relationships that didn't serve me and didn't serve the people that I was clinging to in any way. And after a while, it's called trauma bonding, but this is something that we'll delve into a little bit more as we move deeper into the content, because I suspect that you'll get a taste that this is a pretty deep channel, but this is lighthearted. It's coming from the heart. It's a safe space. It's a space that I hope that everybody can feel like they're themselves. And you can see that wrench beside Andrew, right? He may be here every once in a while. He might come in live today and say, "Oh my goodness, I love Cindy's Chatters live show on Sunday nights, but this is a little bit deep for me," right? So today might be just a day that Andrew decided that he was going to come in and he's going to keep me company a little bit, because this is a pivot today. A pivot is bringing in some change into your life, right? It's when you look at your life and you go, "Oh my goodness, this hasn't worked. This has never worked for me. I need to take control of this," or "I need some mentorship because I've gone down that route." It's what got me kind of kick-started into all of this, is just searching out somebody who can give me a hand, right? To get me started. Because if you're popping into my live, I suspect you're starting where I started. And it's not pretty. It's not fun. In fact, it's very scary. It's very desperate. It's very unsure. It's very unstable where I came in, right? I started there, and I just looked for somebody who might have an answer as to why I was failing. I was failing myself. I was failing my brand, Prairie Dodgers. And we're going back to 2017 when I made this realization. This brand is the only thing in my entire life. Okay? Listen to this, it's very important. That belong to me. That nobody gets to have a say in this. In friendly persuasion, because I do believe the reason, part of my reason as to why I'm here, is because of my stubbornness and somebody having the patience, the understanding of possibly what might work for me, to be able to come onto their platforms, divvy out of the lessons, and just trust that somehow, right, that those lessons were going to hit. And quite often, you might think it's a little bit strange, but this is the journey that Google and YouTube have taken me on. They are the follow me's, right? They are the follow me's, and I trust. And let's have a sip of my coffee because I usually have a sip of my coffee. Or quite often I get so involved in these conversations that I lose track of that cup of coffee. And sometimes it's just a matter of moistening up the throat a little bit. Mm. And I do make a good cup of coffee. And I was going to say, let's go into this word now because we're going to try and stay on topic. It's not something my soul likes to do. My soul is a little bit of a showstopper, a little bit. I was that lady. You invite me to the wedding, do not hand me the microphone, right? Because I'll have something to say, and I've always been that person. It's cute, it's funny, it's frustrating, right? And to the ears sometimes, right? I know the projection of my voice, right? It is what it is. It's meant to be this way. And it's going to deter people for falling into the wrong lessons, I suspect, because of anything I've learned that in any lesson, in any conversation, in any experience that I have ever had, it's not off topic. There is nothing that I could not talk about, whether or not I'm drawn into that conversation, whether or not I choose to go into that conversation, because we do know as empaths, as fast as we can, right, stumble onto something amazing, we can put our foots in our mouths. We can tend to act before, right, we actually think things through. But I have to say for myself, that I've not made that mistake. And I come into my lives, and I'll come into my life today too, my very first live of What's My Good Cheer here on YouTube. Mind you, this show has been going on, like I said, for years now. And I wish I kept track of that day when I started going live, when I started that show, but I didn't. But I don't think it would be hard for me to find out because I would just go back into my content and I would just find that very first show. And maybe that's what I should do today, is to go in just to see what that topic of conversation is. Wouldn't it be amazing if it was about change? And what a great word, because change is something that has been in my life my entire life. I have been to, attended 11 different elementary schools. My father was an adventurer in life. My father uh, Whether he was a thought leader, yes, I would have to say my father was a thought leader, but he never spoke to anybody except to himself. My father spent a lot of time when it came to his thought leadership as a spectator. It's something that I'm swaying from. I'm trying to be more of a participant. And I am so grateful. And people on my Instagram are probably a little bit sick of hearing me say this, but I am so grateful for this digital age. Because in this digital age, it has afforded me the opportunity to stumble onto, and truly, right, it was a stumble onto content that made me do one of these. Answered a question, questions that I've had all my life, right? Questions you might have had your entire life and never had any answers to. You just bumbled along in your life like a bumper car, right? Bumping into this wall, bumping into that relationship, absorbing this, right? Barely being able to get off your couch, right? Not even wanting to get off your couch because every time you made a movement, it was painful. It was somebody teaching you a lesson, right? Not yourself being your own teacher. And that's the thing. Empaths are born of trauma. And it's a hard truth, right? Because lots of times we can go through our lives and not see the trauma in our lives, not see those toxic relationships, not see the narcissistic relationships. Now, these are some topics again that we will be talking about as we move forward, right? A lot of this content, right? Positive content, positivity, mindset, working in emotions, understanding emotions. And you go, oh my goodness, where's the fun in that? Sometimes the fun is in the silliness of your own mistakes, silliness of your own understandings. Sometimes it's having these great, big, huge adventures in life. And whether those adventures are painful or exciting, dazzle and amaze, I've had all of them, all of them. They're meant to drum something up in us, right? As empaths, we are emotion. And when you tie that emotion to this digital age and into making movement when you don't want to make movement, to me, that's the evidence that you're meant for something more, right? That's the evidence that you don't have to be in the same place, that through our own choices, right? You make a choice and you start making movement towards that choice, and your life changes. Your life changes, right? Change is not fun. Change is painful quite often, right? When I first started this, didn't understand baby steps like I understand baby steps now. And I went in head first. Oh my goodness. I went for a ride. I went for a ride. And when we talk about crazy town, it was crazy town. But I stayed with the lessons. I stayed what I was pulled to. And as I moved through the lessons, it became frustrating because every moment I thought, okay, I'm ready to go, right? My brand is going to take off. I'm going to be top 1%. And my mindset over the course of the months, right? Course of the years, and lots of times you're going to learn this too when you hang out with me here on YouTube, is that Sometimes we don't see that change. You can look back at yesterday and you look at yourself today and you go, there's no change, right? You can look back last week and go, no change, just that little bit of frustration, right? You can look back the week before. Sometimes you have to we'll look back months. Sometimes you have to look back years, right? I've reflected quite a bit this week, knowing that I was going to bring this live show to YouTube. I looked back on the past week, and when I looked back this past week, I looked back over the course of these 9 years on social media, 62 years old. And if you go back to some of that old content, and if you go back 9 years and look at that content, I'm sure you would be just as surprised as I am to look at the person that I was, to look at the heaviness. You could see it in my eyes. You could see it in my skin. You could see it in my weight. You could see it in the way I spoke. You could see it in my thoughts and the lessons that I was bringing to the table, right? How broken I had gotten, right? Before I had gotten some help. Sometimes we have to hit the bottom, right? I did. I came within 24 hours of becoming homeless over COVID. It was terrifying. It was scary. And my friend Andrew knows all about it because he stayed with me through that entire process, right? I pulled myself out of the gutter. I got myself some mentorship. I took in the lessons. I bettered my life. I had to better my physical situation, right? But I had to do it at the same time as I was trying to rally up the forces, rally up the troops inside of me who were beaten down so low. Like Napoleon's troop during the war. Which one was that campaign where he got stuck out in the winter and all his troops flat in the ground, starving, freezing, knowing that there was no hope in this battle? And we know Napoleon did not like to lose, but he was a planner. He was a strategizer, right? And he didn't normally, right, make missteps in his planning. You could see, look at, he's got his maps. You could see he's deep in contemplation there, right? This is one of my favorite ornaments. I got this at the job that I worked at. I work in a little thrift shop in Winnipeg, Manitoba. This is a little bit of Mason, if you know what bisque is, Mason porcelain. This company was taken over by the Mason company, so this is one of the very first ones. If this one, you can see the repair on his sword. He's got a repair on his helmet and on the back of the chair. The chair broke, so there's a repair on the chair, right? And you can see these are old repairs because you can tell by the color, right? That somebody loved this so much. Maybe a husband knocked it off the shelf and it was one of the wives' favorite ornaments. But Napoleon, I would suspect that this is very male oriented, that this is actually male energy, right? And maybe the wife broke it and she's the one who put the love into it to fix it up. But over the course of the years, the clay darkened and everything, right? But even in this state, this ornament is worth $3,000. It was, and if it was in perfect shape, it'd be worth about $6,000. I got it for $1, right? But to go back to that idea, right? Napoleon didn't often make mistakes. He spent a lot of time in the lessons. He spent a lot of time in contemplation. And for the most part, Napoleon, right? I don't think he listened to people very well. Napoleon did what Napoleon wanted to do. Maybe there's a little bit of Napoleon me, right? Because the people I care for, the people that I take my mentorship from, I'm sure they find me to be quite frustrating. I hope they find me endearing at the same time. I hope they love me as much as I love them, right? I hope we are all on the same page when it comes to being able to love what you do, to get the most out of our life, not just to get the most of our life, but to be the example for our children, be the example for our community, be the example from our church. And again, something you're going to learn if you're hanging out with me for any length of time, I am non denominational, right? I am not religious. I am not spiritual. And okay, let's just say I am not attached. Excuse me. I am not attached. I don't know where my faith lies. My faith lies in myself, right? And some of us we do become headstrong and independent. And again, if you're empathic or highly sensitive or anything like me, right, you might be a little bit stubborn and big headed. You might be a little bit borderline. You might be a little bit ADHD. You might have a little bit of control in you. You might have a little bit of narcissism in you. I think part of this journey that I'm on is to help us. That's what it is. Really, not just in helping myself, but help all of us not tip over that edge. Because again, going back to the digital age, that where I'm sitting now, and to some of the people that I've made friends over these, right, all over the world. And we are this close now. We used to be thousands of kilometers away, and I actually have people I care for deeply, thousands and thousands of kilometers away. And yet my heart goes to them in my thoughts, right? We have conversations. Well, we did when we were on Instagram, and I do understand that we can go live here on YouTube, but we'll get right into the lessons. We're going to feel out this live show as we go. I was going to switch it up, right? This word pivot, change. If we're going to do this change, let's just do it. Let's just flip it upside down. Let's just put it on its head, right? A couple of days ago, I was making myself all stressed out. Oh my goodness. 3 more days until I take my live show to YouTube, right? And I'm stressing myself out. But in this moment, I have to be honest, it feels no different than when I was on Instagram. It feels no different. The only difference is I'm using my laptop instead of using my phone, right? Now, I have followers over on my Instagram and my Facebook, right? And I suspect that some of them will come and spend time with me. I had a few followers who followed me on both platforms, but for the most part, these platforms are kind of locked in, closed in. They have their audience, and we don't bounce in between them. I do a little bit. I am a Google girl. I take my lessons in YouTube, but because I worked on Instagram, because I was practicing my craft on Instagram, that attachment is there, and it's going to continue to be there, right? I'm still an explorer. So when you're done, if you happen into this live, go back into my main channel, check out some of the other content. I got a show there called Surviving Cindy, where I was building a winter fort, and you can see me. It's lots of fun. It's funny. um, but I love these adventures because it's with my passions, right? Because I've tied all my passions up with the mindset. Um, and I've been taught that way, that we mix it all together, right? So on this show, What's My Good Cheer, we are going to have, and it's not just the show, it's the brand Prairie Dodgers, right? We're going to build this brand up. But this brand is going to have my Chatters Live show on Sunday nights every single day here on YouTube. I will be showing up with this show, What's My Good Cheer, right? My lessons are taking in on YouTube, right? My explore videos will be here. I have Walk With Me, Cindy Jean. I have Explore This, which are my urban explore videos. If you like one room schoolhouses, if you like churches, really old abandoned churches, if you like mansions, if you like farms, if you like Mother Nature, you might like some of my other content. I spent a lot of time, or I did before the lessons hit, but I suspect part of that pivot, right, in bringing it back here, that my adventures, and we got one coming up in September. We're going amethyst digging. We're going on a road trip for a week or so. I have a couple of weeks off from work, so we're going to take a trip. We're going to go lay on a beach, not drinking pina coladas, but in contemplation, right? We're going to walk in the forest. We're going to hang out at waterfalls. We're going to, right? I'm going to make videos for my brand. I'm going to relax. I'm going to unwind. I'm going to reward myself for the work, the hard work that I put into this year. And quite often, because this work, and I'm going back to a gentleman, Mark Cuban. Thank you, Mark, so much. It was a gift that you gave me because it was something that bothered me, right? Because in mindset, a lot of it is momentum. A lot of it is the actions that we take, not just having the thought, but taking the action. And I do that. I do that. But because of my growth mindset, because I'm being asked to be a participant more than a spectator. Remember, there are seasons for all of it, right? There are seasons in my life where I have been a spectator, whether by choice, right? Whether it was forced down my throat, whether it was because I wanted to belong or because I wanted to be seen or I needed to be heard, right? Sometimes we take our lessons in from places, situation, people that probably don't serve us very well. And I hope to course correct that as we move forward. So, in celebration of my first live show, because it is a celebration. We got the lesson in, a little bit of introduction today, but also in tying this up, my live show today, I want to say a little bit about what I want to do with this live show. Okay, let's have another sip. Mm. It's about movement forward, right? This channel, this brand that I have, it's always about movement forward because every single one of us, right, at some point in our life, and for most of us, lots of times in our lives, we can find ourselves stuck, right? And sometimes we just go, woisy me, right? And then we start blaming other people. Or worse yet, we start bringing people down into our level of mentality, right? Instead of searching out that information, without searching out a little bit of mentorship, without taking the responsibility and the accountability ourselves. Guilty, right? I'm so guilty my whole life. never took accountability. Everything that happened to me, right, was because of something else, because of someone else. Deep down, I think probably I knew it was me, right? Even though in taking the lessons and in the beginning, we are taught to learn that it's not all us, that sometimes, right, we just get stuck, sometimes we fall, sometimes it's that, again, like I said, that need to be loved, to feel like you belong, right, that you're seen, that you're heard. We don't want to get mixed in the crowd. It's the world is a big crowd. It's pretty crowdy out there, isn't it, right? And in the past few years we've come to learn that nobody is indispensable, right? That we're all in the same storm. And even though we're on different life rafts, right? Fishing boat, Coast Guard, canoe, kayak, cruise ship, maybe it's just the log that's being tossed around in the storm in the water. Whatever point you're starting at, it's where you're starting at, right? You don't start at the end goal. Well, you can, but that's only as a vision, and that's not reality. And we have to remember that as much as we can dream, we can aspire, right? Without that action, nothing can be realized. And we have to start with ourselves, right? We have to self parent. We have to nurture back to nature. And that's the truth because we pick up a lot of gunk along the way. And a lot of that pivoting and a lot of that change, it happened in my life. Not because of what I added to my life, but making that decision. And sometimes those decisions have been very, very difficult. And for those of you who have been with me for any length of time, you've known and you've seen the evidence of some of that hard stuff that I had to let go. But I think what is meant to be is meant to be, right? But if we're not taking the lessons, right, how can we get to that point? See, we're meant to be where we're meant to be, right? But if you didn't take that lesson, you weren't meant to be there. You were meant to be right where you are. So, right, that's a hard one to swallow, isn't it? Right? Okay, I don't know why I'm bringing this up again. This is 2 days because I mentioned this on my YouTube channel yesterday, but a little bit of it is in those lessons in etiquette because our hopes, right, is to be seen, to be heard, to belong, to feel loved, to feel welcomed, right? To feel like we're part of something bigger. But you have to find where do you belong because we all belong somewheres in the moment. But sometimes it's just a lesson, it's just a realization till you discover, right, that you belong somewhere else. And then after a few lessons, you may realize, right, you belong somewhere else. So it's always a constant of taking in and releasing, taking in and releasing until you start taking in and realizing you're not releasing anymore, or you're not releasing with such force, or you're not releasing with so much pain, or you're not releasing so much, or you don't have to release that because you got it now. And those are the amazing ones. Those are the evidences, 100%. And I hope by me showing up here every single day that I could be that evidence that you might be able to take those first steps yourself, right? I was taught your purpose comes from your pain, right? Your purpose comes from your pain. I took it seriously. I went deep and I discovered truly what that pain is. And for the most part, that pain is not in the realization that I was special. We're all special. Every single human being on this planet is special, but we don't all realize it, right? Because of all that gook, because of those dynamic relationships or the lack of, right? Because it's in the mentorship that we get as children that builds that foundation that makes it so that we have an opportunity to move forward, right? Or maybe I have to say this too, it's the rest from the long battle that you've just come out of, right? So sometimes there's that crash too, right? That's the post-op, right? That's being the good patient. That's taking care of yourself. Sometimes it's hiding. Sometimes it's that fear, right? That say, oh, I'm never going to do that again. That was so painful. That was so hard. Never doing that again. Not that you didn't like it, right? It's not that you didn't want to do it. It was just too painful. It was just too difficult. It didn't work out the way you had hoped to. But as you take the lessons in, as we have these conversations, as I had these conversations, I got to realize that it was only because I quit after the first experience that I didn't go in for round two or round three, because usually around three, you start feeling that you got the hang of it, right? It's like riding a bike. You start not knowing how to ride the bike, but once you got that bike figured out, you've always got that bike figured out. But if you fell the first time you got on that bike and you said, oh my goodness, that hurt. I'm never getting on that bike again. I'm never doing that again, ever again. And you were that person that was supposed to win the French, what do you call that one where you go for that bike ride all across Europe, right? And you were meant to win that race. But when you were 3 years old, right, you got tripped up and you were afraid when you fell off that bike and you never got on the bike again, right? Again, I have to say, you are and you were exactly where you were meant to be, right? Because you didn't get that lesson. If you didn't get that lesson, then you're not meant to be in the next spot. It's about having the bravery and the courage to make a change, right? Just do it. If you just do it, I promise something or someone will come up behind you and give you a hand, like my friend Andrew coming in today, right? Oh my goodness, I thought I was going to be in here by myself today, my very first live on YouTube. I thought I was going to be by myself, and it wasn't the case, right? It's just a matter of getting started, and the things that you need, the people who care for you, they'll show up, right? Thank you, Andrew, for keeping me company during my live show today. We're going to leave it at that because I lost my train of thought. It was in my mind, but we're going to be going into that etiquette a little bit. But this is along the way, because at the very beginning, we have to learn. Oh, Andrew, you're still here. Thank you so much, dear. Thank you so much. Did you get your card yet? I'm really concerned with that mail system in the States. Here in Canada, oh my goodness, you mail off a letter, oh, in the city in the very least, and they get it the very next day, right? But that's change. And we got to remember, we don't just change, right? The world changes too. And we have to move with that change. That's our evolution. And we're going to be talking about evolution too. But let's not feel it so deep today. The deep, I just wanted to come in, introduce myself, introduce some of the content that I've been bringing to my Instagram channel for the past few years. I'm making a pivot and we're bringing my content to YouTube because I am a Google girl. This is a Google journey. YouTube, right? I love YouTube. YouTube has divvied up the lessons that I need, and I have to trust when I made that decision, right? I am where I am supposed to be. Oh my goodness, Melvin made it too. Oh my goodness, Melvin, thank you so much, dear. We were talking about you Sunday night, right? We were talking about you and your passion for politics, this understanding that it takes all kinds to make the world. And Melvin showing up for me too. Melvin showing his love for me too, right? I don't know anything about politics. I don't even vote. But if you show up here every once in a while, maybe Melvin will show up every once in a while too and school us, right? And that's the thing. We school each other. And this crew that is on Instagram and shows up with me here on YouTube, and these people who have become my friends on YouTube showing up for me here too also. Thank you so much, dears. You have no idea how much that's appreciated, how it touches my heart, how it makes it so that I want to show up tomorrow. I want to show up the next day. And like a loaf of bread, I hope to show up fresh like that every single day. You guys, I'm going to leave my live show now for today. I think that's a good thing. I threw a lot of content in there. And if you'd like to come back, I'll be back tomorrow and we'll have another conversation. I'll explain to you tomorrow what the plan is with my show going forward. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, I hope. I hope just as much interesting for you that I hope will be interesting for me because I find what I do to be very, very interesting. It's a part of me, it's a part of my life. And this commitment to showing up fresh like a loaf of bread every single day, that's a part of that commitment. That's a part of that accountability. And it's my pleasure to be here, not just for you, but for myself too, right? This is community, and this is what we're going to learn about building community, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you, Andrew. Oh, Melvin, you guys are so sweet. Thank you so much for showing up with me on my first live show here on YouTube of my new show, What's My Good Cheer? It's my Instagram show and I may show up on Instagram this afternoon. It's going to take me a while. It's like an umbilical cord, right? This show, Prairie Dodgers, this channel, Prairie Dodgers, has many shows. It has many pivots. It has many changes. It has all kinds of different kinds of content. But this is me, right? This is who I am, and this is who I am now, but I understand that I'm going to be a different person next week. I'm going to be different person next year, right? 10 years from now, in my next lifetime, possibly, right? But I've always got to understand that it takes all kinds to make the world. And where I am right now is where I'm supposed to be. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see each other tomorrow. Thank you so much again, guys. Take care. And we definitely are a work in progress. Aren't we, Andrew? Oh my goodness, aren't we? Have a great day, everybody.